Hi, welcome to Educator.com. We're going to be talking about central tendency, mean, median, and mode. Now, mean, median, and mode are what most people think about when they think about statistics, especially descriptive statistics. When I ask my students, what's descriptive statistics about, they'll be like, mean, median, and mode. And sometimes they'll also say standard deviation, right? So I know that this is largely what sticks in people's minds. All right. So we're going to be talking about these three measures of central tendency. Then we're going to spend a little bit more time on mean. We're going to review the summation symbol, sigma, uppercase sigma, rather. And then we're also going to talk about the different formulas for population mean versus sample mean. Then we're going to talk about some Excel examples. And finally, we're going to compare these measures of central tendency. All right, so central tendency. Basically, the idea is we want to be able to summarize a distribution, right? And we've learned about some different ways you could summarize it, like the shape, for example. You could say, oh, it's a uniform shape. It's a nice way to summarize a distribution. So, but shape is just one dimension that you could summarize a distribution on, a way that you could describe it on. Central tendency is another dimension that you could describe it on. So central tendency you could think of as the middleness, right? How do you say what's the middle of a distribution? Well, there's a couple of ways. So when we talk about mode, we're going to be talking about most frequent value as sort of the center member, right? So in this case, with 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2 is the most frequent value, right? And so because of that, we're going to say, okay, that's one way we could describe the center. The median is literally the middle value. In order to find the median, it often helps to line up your distribution in order, right? So here we have the least on this side and the greatest on this side. So here we would just count to the center. So since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 numbers here, we know that's an odd number. So here we just pick the middle value, and that's the median. Now let's talk about mean. Mean is what people often call the average member, the average value. And with mean, we actually care what each value means, what each value sort of, the extent of each value. And so because of that, what we're going to do is add up, sum up all the values in our distribution, in our sample, and divide by n, right? Divide by the number of values you have in your sample, right? So here we're just going to add all these up. So here's 5 and 10 and another 10, 20, 24, right? So 24 divided by 7. And that will give you the mean. So this is probably something like 3 and 3/7, right? So that's our mean. All right. So now I've changed that same distribution just slightly. All I've done is I've added an extra number. And let's see what changes, right? Does the way we describe the central tendency of our distribution change? Well, let's see. So remember, mode, I think I used red before, is most frequent, right? Does our most frequent value change? In this case, no. 2 is still our most frequent value. Well, what about the median, the middle value? Has that changed? Well, here we have 8 numbers in our distribution, right? And because of that, there's no exact middle point, right? The middle is in between 2 numbers. In that case, what you do is you take those 2 numbers in the middle and you divide by 2. You add them up and you divide by 2. Basically, you find the average of the 2 middle values. Or average of 2 middle So in this case, it would be 2 plus 3 divided by 2. So something like 2 and 1/2, or 2.5, right? So that would be our median. Notice that our median has changed a little bit. Because we added something over on the smaller side of our distribution, our median has slightly shifted over. Now let's think about the mean, or the average. Well, let's add them up and see. So 0, actually, because I added a 0, the actual value of the sum doesn't change, so that's 24. And now we're just dividing by 8. And so our mean is now just 3 instead of 3 and 3/7. And so because of that, once again, because we added a number that is small in our distribution, our mean has shifted over a little bit towards the smaller side. All right, so that's basically the ideas of central tendency